So the area of this parallelogram is going to be the area of this altitude, magnitude of V sine theta, multiplied by the magnitude of W. So we can write the area is magnitude of V sine theta times magnitude of W. However, if we simply rearrange this, we find that this expression is identical to the expression for the magnitude excuse me, of the cross product. So that the magnitude of the cross product is the area of this parallelogram formed by V and W. Now let's move over here. We have a vector V and a vector W, and these are sketched to indicate that they're in the XY plane. So let's label our axes. It's not really necessary, but let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so we have our X, Y, and Z axes. We have this parallelogram in the plane, and I can go ahead and shade in the sides of this parallelogram. Now I invoke another vector U. Now this vector U is not in the XY plane, and I'm going to have this vector project over onto the Z axis. Okay, now it's okay. So the U vector projects somewhere over here onto the Z axis. If I draw a vector parallel to U here, and another one here, parallel and of the same magnitude, and complete this figure, we see that we get a three-dimensional figure. And none of these angles are assumed to be right angles. This is simply a three-dimensional figure formed by three completely arbitrary vectors. Now I did draw W along the y-axis, and I did draw U so that it projects in a certain way on the z-axis, but that's simply for convenience of reference in the figure. Okay, now the vector V cross W, by the right-hand rule, V cross W is going to be in the downward Z direction. So we can draw a vector here and call that V cross W. And remember, V cross W gives us the area of this parallelogram here, so that we've represented the area of the parallelogram as the magnitude of V cross W. Now V cross W is also perpendicular to the V and W vectors, so that an altitude perpendicular to this parallelogram is going to be formed by the projection of U onto this V cross W vector, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute.